You're here because I'm offering you a deal, Abigail. A chance to escape Fiona Blackwell's abuse and help me acquire what I want in the process. I stared at the ring, then at him, my mind struggling to make sense of his words. I don't understand. It's simple, he said. Marry me. A temporary arrangement, of course. 6 months, perhaps a year. In return, I'll ensure Fiona Blackwell never harms you again, pay off your mother's medical bills, and provide you with enough money to start fresh afterward. My voice barely above a whisper. You want me to marry you? A complete stranger. I'm hardly a stranger to you, he countered. And behind that practical, cautious exterior is someone who desperately wants to fight back. Someone who dreams of justice. I'm offering you both. His eyes darkened. When Fiona Blackwell sees you wearing my ring, it will hurt her in ways that money alone cannot. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Pure Revenge Stories. I'm so grateful for each one of you taking time out of your day to be here. To my loyal subscribers, you're the reason I do this. And if you're new, I hope you'll join our revenge-loving family by hitting that subscribe button. Before we dive into today's story, I want to say a quick prayer for all of you. May you find strength when you feel weak, courage when you face fear, and wisdom to know when to walk away and when to stand your ground. May opportunities come your way that transform your struggles into stepping stones for success. Now, let's get into this incredible tale of workplace abuse, unexpected alliances, and the ultimate revenge. The stack of papers landed with a thud on my desk, scattering my carefully organized notes. Redo all of these. Your work is garbage, just like you, Fiona Blackwell sneered, her perfect red lips curling with disgust. And I need them by 6 p.m. I glanced at the clock, 4:30. The task would take at least 4 hours. But the Henderson presentation is tomorrow, and I still need to. The slap came without warning, sharp and stinging across my cheek. The office fell silent, 20 pairs of eyes, suddenly finding their computer screens fascinating. Did I ask for your opinion, Abby? Fiona's voice was dangerously soft. Or do you think you're too good for this job? Because I can replace you in a heartbeat. I swallowed hard, tasting blood where my teeth had cut the inside of my cheek. I'll have it done by 6. Make it 5:30, she said, turning on her designer heels. And fix your makeup. You look pathetic. This wasn't unusual. As executive assistant to Fiona Blackwell, marketing director at Pierce Industries, I'd endured 2 years of this treatment. The verbal abuse. The occasional slap or shove when no executives were watching. The impossible demands and moving targets. Why did I stay? The same reason anyone endures hell, survival. My mother's medical bills were piling up faster than autumn leaves. Her heart condition required expensive medication, regular treatments, and occasional hospital stays. Pierce Industries paid well, and the health insurance was excellent. My mother's health didn't care about my pride. So I stayed, endured, adapted. I developed 1,000 micro-strategies for survival. I knew which days Fiona wore her burgundy shoes. Those were the worst days, when her temper was shortest. I knew to bring an extra blouse to work for the coffee accidents that happened when she was displeased. I knew to compliment her new haircuts, but never her outfits. She considered fashion commentary from me presumptuous. My desk drawer contained concealer for the rare occasions when her rings left marks. The office first aid kit was strategically stocked with ice packs for headaches that were actually for swelling. You should report her, my friend Megan had urged after seeing a bruise on my arm last month. That's assault. It's illegal. And then what? Wait 6 months for unemployment while my mom's condition deteriorates? Watch Fiona's high-powered attorney friends destroy my reputation. I'd shaken my head. No one stands up to the Fiona Blackwells of the world and wins. At night, I dreamed of escape. I had a business plan for a small graphic design studio tucked away in my laptop. I'd been saving what I could, a pathetic amount that wouldn't even cover 3 months of my mother's medications. Freedom was a distant mirage that kept me moving through the desert of my daily reality. Still not done. Fiona's voice cut through my thoughts hours later. She loomed over my desk, scrutinizing my progress with cold eyes. At this rate, you'll be here all night. I'm almost finished, I said, minimizing the browser window where I'd been researching cheaper treatment options for Mom. Well, work faster, she snapped. And don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning before you leave. I need that burgundy suit for tomorrow's board meeting. As she walked away, the artificial light caught on her diamond tennis bracelet, a gift she'd bragged was from the CEO for exceptional performance. The same performance that consisted largely of taking credit for her team's work while terrorizing us into silence. Yes, Ms. Blackwell, I replied automatically. Later that evening, as I trudged to the dry cleaners, juggling Fiona's cleaning and the stack of files I needed to review at home, my phone buzzed. Probably Mom, wondering when I'd be home to help with her evening medications. Instead, an unknown number flashed on the screen. The message was simple. Do you want her to pay? I stared at it, confused. Probably a wrong number. I returned to my juggling act, trying to hail a cab in the gathering darkness. The phone buzzed again. Abigail Turner. I'm asking if you want Fiona Blackwell to pay for what she's done to you. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I glanced around the darkened street, but no one was watching me. Just the usual commuters hurrying home, their faces illuminated by phone screens. Who is this? I typed back, fingers trembling slightly. The response came immediately. Someone who can help. Tonight, 8 p.m. The Addison. Ask for the Griffin reservation. The Addison. Even the name exuded exclusivity. The kind of place where Fiona would dine, not someone like me with a maxed-out credit card and a closet full of clearance rack clothes. I think you have the wrong person, I replied. I don't make mistakes, Abigail. 8 p.m. Wear the blue dress you've been saving for a special occasion. My blood ran cold. The blue dress was hanging in my closet with the tags still on, a splurge from 6 months ago that I couldn't justify wearing anywhere. How could a stranger possibly know about it? As I unlocked my apartment door, Mom called from her bedroom. Abby? Is that you, honey? Yes, Mom. I set down Fiona's dry cleaning and went to check on her. How are you feeling today? She looked small against the pillows, her once vibrant face lined with pain, but still smiling. Better now that you're home. How was your day? I touched my cheek where Fiona had slapped me, the mark hidden with carefully applied makeup. Same as always. You work too hard, she said, reaching for my hand. You deserve better than that place. As I helped her take her evening medication, I thought about the mysterious text message. About the blue dress. About the opportunity to make Fiona pay. Mom, I said carefully, I might have a late meeting tonight. Don't wait up for me. The Addison was even more intimidating than I'd imagined. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over white tablecloths and gleaming silverware. Well-dressed patrons conversed in hushed tones while servers glided between tables with practiced precision. I adjusted my blue dress, suddenly aware of how it hugged my curves in a way my usual work attire never did. The hostess eyed me with thinly veiled suspicion. I'm here for the Griffin reservation, I said, trying to sound confident. Her expression transformed immediately. Of course, Miss Turner. Mr. Griffin is waiting for you. Please follow me. She led me through the restaurant to a private dining area separated from the main room by frosted glass doors. As they opened, I saw him, the only occupant of a table set for two. Nathaniel Griffin. I recognized him immediately from magazine covers and news articles. The 35-year-old tech mogul who'd built Griffin Enterprises from nothing into a global powerhouse. Worth billions, notorious for his privacy, rumored to be as ruthless in business as he was generous in philanthropy. He stood as I approached, his dark eyes assessing me with unsettling intensity. Tall and broad-shouldered, he radiated power in his perfectly tailored suit. His face was all sharp angles, high cheekbones, strong jaw, straight nose. Not conventionally handsome, but magnetic in a way that made it impossible to look away. Miss Turner, he said, his voice deep and smooth. Thank you for coming. I don't understand why I'm here, I replied, remaining standing even as he gestured to the chair across from him. A faint smile touched his lips. Direct. Good. Please sit. I dislike having conversations with people towering over me. I sat, more out of confusion than compliance. How do you know who I am? How did you get my number? How did you know about my dress? I make it my business to know things, he replied calmly, signaling to a server who immediately appeared with 2 glasses of wine. Especially about people who interest me. And why would I interest you? We've never met. No, but we have a connection. He took a sip of his wine, watching me over the rim of his glass. Fiona Blackwell. The name sent a jolt through me. My boss? What about her? She works for Pierce Industries. Pierce Industries recently rejected a partnership with Griffin Enterprises. A partnership I wanted very much. His expression remained neutral, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. I don't like being told no, Miss Turner. So this is what? Corporate espionage? You want me to spy on Pierce for you? I started to rise. I'm not interested. His hand shot out, catching my wrist. Not painfully, but firmly enough to stop me. That's not why you're here. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. Up close, I noticed the flecks of amber in his dark irises, the faint scar above his right eyebrow. Then why am I here? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He released my wrist and reached into his jacket, producing a small velvet box. He placed it on the table between us and opened it to reveal a stunning diamond ring. You're here because I'm offering you a deal, Abigail. A chance to escape Fiona Blackwell's abuse and help me acquire what I want in the process. I stared at the ring, then at him, my mind struggling to make sense of his words. I don't understand. It's simple, he said. Marry me. A temporary arrangement, of course. 6 months, perhaps a year. In return, I'll ensure Fiona Blackwell never harms you again, pay off your mother's medical bills, and provide you with enough money to start fresh afterward. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. You want me to marry you? A complete stranger. I'm hardly a stranger to you, he countered. You've been researching me for the past 3 hours. Your search history is quite thorough. My face flushed hot with embarrassment and anger. You've been monitoring my phone? As I said, I make it my business to know things. He leaned forward, his gaze intensifying. You need money and protection. I need someone with inside access to Pierce Industries and a compelling reason to be suddenly associated with me. Marriage provides both. This is insane, I whispered. Why me? You could hire anyone. Because you have something no one else has, he interrupted. Authentic motive. Your hatred for Fiona Blackwell is real, which makes you perfect for what I need. I should have walked out. Should have reported this bizarre encounter to someone, though who would believe me? Instead, I found myself asking, what exactly would this involve? You would move into my home, accompany me to certain events, be seen as my wife in every respect. In private, we would maintain separate spaces and lives. When our arrangement concludes, you walk away with $5 million and my continued protection from Fiona's retaliation. $5 million. Enough to pay off Mom's medical debt. Enough to finally finish my degree. Enough to never worry about money again. And Fiona? What happens to her? Something cold and satisfied crossed his face. She pays for her mistakes. All of them. What does that mean exactly? It means I acquire Pierce Industries, restructure it completely, and ensure Fiona Blackwell never works in this industry again. He paused. Unless you'd prefer a more personal revenge? The memory of that afternoon's slap stung my cheek. No, I said quickly. Professional consequences are enough. He nodded, seeming almost disappointed. As you wish. Why do you hate her so much? I asked. This seems excessive for a rejected business deal. His expression darkened. My reasons are my own. All you need to know is that they run deeper than business. The server returned with our meals, food I hadn't ordered but which looked exquisite. Nathaniel seemed to take my continued presence as acceptance, beginning to eat as though proposing a fake marriage to a stranger was perfectly normal dinner conversation. This is crazy, I said again, more to myself than to him. Is it? He asked. Crazier than letting a woman abuse you daily? Crazier than watching your mother suffer because you can't afford better care? Crazier than wasting your potential at a job that's slowly killing your spirit? Each question hit like a physical blow because each one was true. How long do I have to decide? I asked. He checked his watch. The car waiting outside will take you home. You have until tomorrow at noon to give me your answer. And if I say no, then you never hear from me again. Your life continues exactly as it is now. He set down his fork and knife. But you won't say no, Abigail. You sound very sure about that. His smile was knowing. I am. Because behind that practical, cautious exterior is someone who desperately wants to fight back. Someone who dreams of justice. I'm offering you both. He was right, and that terrified me more than anything else about this strange encounter. One question I said as I stood to leave. Why marriage? Why not just hire me or offer me a different position? Because marriage gives you legal protections that employment doesn't, he replied. And because when Fiona Blackwell sees you wearing my ring, it will hurt her in ways that money alone cannot. There it was again, that hint of something personal, something beyond business. What aren't you telling me? I pressed. What's the connection between you and Fiona? That, he said, his voice suddenly cold, is something you'll learn only if you say yes. I barely slept that night, turning his offer over and over in my mind. The rational part of me knew it was madness, a Faustian bargain with a man whose motives remained suspiciously unclear. But the part of me that had endured Fiona's abuse for 2 years whispered that perhaps this was justice. Perhaps this was fate. By morning, my decision was made. At precisely noon, I texted the number from the previous night, yes. The response came immediately. The car will pick you up at 6 p.m. Pack only essentials. Everything else will be provided. I spent my final day at Pierce Industries in a strange fog, moving through familiar motions while knowing everything was about to change. Fiona was particularly vicious, criticizing my work, my appearance, even the way I breathed. Are you even listening to me? She snapped, slamming her hand on my desk. I looked up at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. Not as my tormentor, but as a person about to lose everything. Despite everything she'd done to me, I felt a flicker of unease about what was to come. Yes, Fiona, I said calmly. I hear every word you say. Something in my tone made her pause, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. What's wrong with you today? You're acting strange. Just focused on the Henderson presentation, I lied smoothly. Is there anything else you need? She studied me for a moment longer, then shook her head. Just don't mess this up. My promotion depends on it. As she walked away, I wondered if she would remember this moment later, this last, ordinary interaction before everything changed. At 5:58 p.m., I gathered my few personal items into my bag, shut down my computer, and walked out without saying goodbye to anyone. The black car was waiting outside, exactly as promised. Miss Turner, the driver said, opening the door for me. Mr. Griffin is waiting. The ride to Nathaniel's penthouse was silent. I watched the city transform from the commercial district to the exclusive neighborhoods where people like Fiona aspired to live, and finally to the rarefied heights where only the truly wealthy resided. When we arrived, I was escorted directly to a room larger than my entire apartment. A white dress hung on a display form by the window. Mr. Griffin requests your presence in the living room once you're ready, the housekeeper said. The ceremony is scheduled for 9 o'clock. Ceremony, I echoed. Tonight? She nodded. A justice of the peace has been arranged. Is there anything you require? My head spun. I'd expected a planning period, time to adjust, perhaps even a chance to back out. But Nathaniel operated with swift efficiency. Why wait when he'd already decided? The wedding was a small, efficient affair. A judge, a photographer, 2 witnesses from his staff. I wore the simple white dress that had appeared in my new closet, sized perfectly. Nathaniel wore a dark suit that probably cost more than my annual salary. We exchanged vows with practiced smiles, his hand cool and firm around mine. When he slid the diamond ring onto my finger, the same one from the restaurant, I felt its weight like a shackle. Or perhaps a shield. You may kiss the bride, the judge announced. I hadn't considered this part. Hadn't thought about the physical aspects of our arrangement at all. Nathaniel's eyes met mine, a silent question in them. I gave a small nod. His lips touched mine briefly, formally, but even that restrained contact sent an unexpected jolt through me. He pulled back quickly, his expression unreadable. "Congratulations, Mrs. Griffin," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The name sounded foreign, fictional. A character I would be playing for the next 6 months. After the witnesses and judge departed, Nathaniel led me to his home office, a minimalist space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The photographer followed, taking candid shots of us together. "For social media," Nathaniel explained. "The announcement will go out this afternoon." "So soon?" I asked, startled. "The timing is crucial," he replied. "Pierce Industries' annual gala is tomorrow night. Our first public appearance as husband and wife." My stomach dropped. "Tomorrow? Fiona will be there." "Precisely." His smile was cold. "She's been personally overseeing the event planning. It's meant to showcase her leadership for that promotion she's seeking." The photographer directed us to stand closer together. Nathaniel's arm circled my waist, drawing me against his side. The contact was unexpected, intimate in a way our brief kiss hadn't been. I forced myself to relax, to play the part of besotted bride. "Smile like you've just married the man of your dreams," the photographer instructed. I complied, but Nathaniel's expression remained more predatory than loving. When we were finally alone, I pulled away from him. "I need to know what I'm walking into tomorrow. What's your history with Fiona? What am I part of here?" He poured himself a drink, not offering me one. "You agreed to this arrangement without that knowledge. Why does it matter now?" "Because I'm about to face my abuser as your wife," I said firmly. "I deserve to know why." He considered me for a long moment, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. Then he moved to his desk and unlocked a drawer, removing a photograph and handing it to me without a word. It showed a young woman with Nathaniel's dark eyes and strong features. Beautiful, smiling, full of life. On the back was written, "Natalie, 1992 to 2018. Your sister." I guessed. He nodded once, a sharp movement. Fiona Blackwell was her best friend in college. They started a marketing firm together after graduation, Griffin and Blackwell Associates. The name triggered a distant memory. A scandal from a few years ago. Something about embezzlement and fraud. "I funded their startup," Nathaniel continued, his voice flat. "Against my better judgment. I never trusted Fiona, but Natalie believed in her." "What happened?" I asked softly. "Fiona happened." His knuckles whitened around his glass. "She manipulated the books, diverted client payments, took out loans in the company's name, all while making my sister believe the business was struggling because of her inadequate leadership." Understanding began to dawn. "She gaslighted her. For 3 years." The words seemed to physically pain him. The psychological abuse was systematic. By the end, Natalie doubted everything, her competence, her sanity, her worth. When the fraud was finally exposed, Fiona managed to pin everything on her. Made it look like Natalie had masterminded it all. I sank into a chair, the photograph still in my hands. "What happened to your sister?" His expression went completely blank. "She couldn't bear the shame, the legal battles, the betrayal. She took her own life." The weight of those words hung in the air between us. I thought of Fiona's casual cruelty, her manipulative tactics, her pleasure in others' pain. I could easily imagine her systematically destroying someone vulnerable. "And you want revenge," I said softly. "Not just business revenge. You want her to suffer like your sister suffered." His eyes met mine, and the pain and rage in them was so raw I had to look away. "Justice," he corrected. "I want justice." The Pierce Industries annual gala was held at the Grand Wellington Hotel, its ballroom transformed into an elegant wonderland of lights and flowers. As our car pulled up to the entrance, my stomach twisted with nerves. "Remember," Nathaniel said, adjusting his bow tie, "we're deeply in love." A whirlwind romance that couldn't wait. You're confident, radiant, utterly besotted with your new husband. And you? I asked. What's your role in this performance? His smile was thin. The triumphant groom who's won the heart of a beautiful woman and can't wait to introduce her to everyone, especially to her former employer. Former. The word struck me. I hadn't formally resigned from Pierce Industries. Hadn't given notice. I'd simply not shown up today, letting my absence speak for itself. Nathaniel must have read the realization on my face. Your resignation letter was delivered this morning, along with your new employment contract as a consultant for Griffin Enterprises. You forged my signature? I asked, not entirely surprised. I anticipated your needs, he corrected. Legal documentation of your new position protects you from accusations of corporate espionage. Before I could respond, the car door opened. Cameras flashed as we emerged, surprising me. Nathaniel took my hand, drawing it through his arm and holding me close as we walked the short red carpet into the hotel. Local business press, he murmured in my ear. I may have tipped them off about our attendance tonight. Inside, the gala was already in full swing. Executives in tuxedos and evening gowns mingled beneath crystal chandeliers, champagne flowing freely as a string quartet played softly in the background. I recognized many faces from Pierce Industries, including several board members. Conversation faltered as we entered, ripples of recognition spreading through the crowd. Nathaniel Griffin was well known in business circles, his presence unexpected and significant at a Pierce event. Mr. Griffin. Thomas Pierce himself approached, hand extended. The founder and CEO of Pierce Industries was in his 70s, but still sharp, his surprise evident but quickly masked. This is unexpected. I don't believe you were on our guest list. A last-minute addition, Nathaniel replied smoothly. I hope you'll forgive the intrusion, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to introduce my wife to her former colleagues. Pierce's eyes widened as they shifted to me. Your wife? But that's Abigail Turner, I supplied, using my maiden name deliberately. Or I suppose it's Abigail Griffin now. Good evening, Mr. Pierce. You married my employee? Pierce looked between us, confusion evident. Former employee, Nathaniel corrected. Abigail has joined Griffin Enterprises as a consultant. We felt it would be inappropriate for her to continue at Pierce, given our new relationship. Pierce's expression darkened with understanding. Corporate poaching was a serious offense in their world, especially of someone with inside knowledge of operations. I see, he said tightly. Well, congratulations on your sudden nuptials. If you'll excuse me, I have other guests to attend to. As he walked away, I could see him signaling to his executive team. The warning was spreading. Nathaniel Griffin was here, and he'd infiltrated their company through me. Phase 1 complete, Nathaniel murmured, guiding me deeper into the ballroom. Now we wait for Fiona. We didn't have to wait long. As we accepted champagne flutes from a passing server, I heard her voice, sharp, commanding, instantly recognizable. What do you mean Griffin is here? Why wasn't I informed immediately? I turned to see Fiona cutting through the crowd, resplendent in a burgundy gown, her expression thunderous. She stopped dead when she saw us, her face draining of color. Hello, Fiona, Nathaniel said, his voice carrying just enough to attract attention from nearby guests. It's been a while. Fiona recovered quickly, smoothing her features into a professional mask. Nathaniel Griffin. What an unexpected surprise. I wasn't aware you were on the guest list. My husband was kind enough to accompany me, I said, stepping forward. I wanted to properly say goodbye to my colleagues. Fiona's eyes dropped to the massive diamond on my left hand, then back to my face. For once, she seemed genuinely speechless. Husband, she finally managed. You're married? As of yesterday, Nathaniel confirmed, his arms sliding around my waist. A whirlwind romance, but when you know, you know. The calculating look in Fiona's eyes told me she was rapidly reassessing everything she thought she knew about me. About us. About what this meant for her. How unexpected, she said carefully. Abigail never mentioned knowing you. Some relationships are worth keeping private, I replied, matching her careful tone. Especially in professional settings. The implication that I'd been secretly involved with Nathaniel while working for her was deliberate. It would make her question what information I might have shared with him about Pierce Industries. About her. Well, she said with a tight smile, I suppose congratulations are in order. Thank you, Nathaniel said. We're very happy. Aren't we, darling? He turned to me with such convincing adoration that for a moment, even I almost believed it. I played my part, reaching up to straighten his bow tie in a gesture of intimate familiarity. Absolutely, I agreed. Though I will miss certain aspects of Pierce Industries. The people, if not always the management. Fiona's smile froze. I'm sure Griffin Enterprises will be enlightening for you, though I wonder about the ethical implications of such a rapid transition. All above board, Nathaniel assured her. We've been very careful about conflicts of interest. Abigail's new role involves projects completely unrelated to Pierce. It was a lie, of course. My entire purpose was related to Pierce Industries. To Fiona herself. I hope you know what you're doing, Abigail, she said, her gaze shifting back to me. Some decisions can't be undone. There was a warning in her words, perhaps even genuine concern beneath the hostility. For a moment, I wondered if she actually thought Nathaniel might be using me, which, of course, he was, though not in the way she imagined. I know exactly what I'm doing, I replied, meeting her gaze steadily. For the first time in years. Something passed between us then, understanding, perhaps. Recognition of the game we were now playing, with me suddenly elevated from pawn to queen. If you'll excuse me, Fiona said, composure regained, I have duties to attend to. Enjoy the evening, Mr. and Mrs. Griffin. As she walked away, I felt Nathaniel's hand tighten on my waist. Perfect, he murmured. She's terrified. I wasn't sure if I should feel triumph or unease. What happens now? Now, he said, his smile predatory, we dance. He led me to the dance floor, drawing me close as we moved to the music. Other couples gave us space, watching with undisguised curiosity. She's already making calls, Nathaniel observed, his lips close to my ear. Probably trying to figure out how long we've been together, what you might know, what threat we pose. Is that what you wanted? I asked. To make her panic? It's a start, he replied. Fear is a powerful motivator. It leads to mistakes. As we turned, I caught sight of Thomas Pierce in intense conversation with several board members, all of them glancing our way periodically. The board is concerned too, I noted. They know your reputation for acquisitions. Nathaniel's smile widened. Good. Phase 2 begins Monday morning when I announce my bid for controlling interest in Pierce Industries. You're actually buying the company? I hadn't expected him to move so quickly. I've been preparing for years, he said. Your inside knowledge will help me finalize the strategy. The calculating coldness of his plan sent a shiver through me. And what happens to the employees? The people who had nothing to do with Fiona. Collateral damage is unavoidable in war, he said dismissively. But the talented ones will find positions within Griffin Enterprises. And Fiona? His expression darkened. Professional disgrace. Financial ruin. Criminal charges for past transgressions that will finally come to light. The music ended, but Nathaniel kept me close, his hand warm against the small of my back as he guided me through the crowd. We spoke with board members, executives, even some of my former colleagues, all of whom regarded me with a mixture of confusion, suspicion, and newfound respect. As the evening wore on, I found myself playing the role of devoted wife with increasing ease. There was something intoxicating about the power shift, about watching people who had ignored or dismissed me now hanging on my every word. About seeing Fiona forced to treat me with cautious respect. The next 2 weeks unfolded like a carefully orchestrated symphony of destruction. Nathaniel launched his hostile takeover bid for Pierce Industries, sending the company into chaos. Board members scrambled to protect their interests, executives fought for position, and employees worried about their futures. Through it all, I played my role perfectly, the insider with valuable knowledge, The devoted wife supporting her husband's business ventures, the former assistant now wielding unexpected power. I provided Nathaniel with information about Pierce's vulnerabilities, Fiona's projects, internal politics that could be exploited. Each day brought Fiona closer to ruin. Her allies deserted her as Nathaniel systematically exposed their own weaknesses. Her projects were scrutinized and found wanting. Her position became increasingly precarious as Pierce himself began to question her judgment. And through it all, she maintained a dignity that surprised me. No public outbursts, no desperate counterattacks. She faced the onslaught with composure that seemed at odds with the unstable manipulator Nathaniel had described. At home, if I could call Nathaniel's penthouse that, our relationship remained strictly professional. We occupied separate spaces, interacting primarily to discuss strategy or prepare for public appearances. He was unfailingly courteous, but emotionally distant, focused entirely on his mission. Yet something was changing between us. Small moments of genuine connection amid the performance, a shared laugh over an inside joke, a brief touch that lingered longer than necessary, a look of actual concern when I seemed tired or stressed. I told myself it was just part of our cover, that neither of us was actually developing feelings amid this artificial arrangement. That would be absurd, dangerous, doomed. But when doubts about our mission surfaced, when I questioned the totality of Nathaniel's revenge, the collateral damage to innocent employees, the single-minded focus of his hatred, these moments of connection made it harder to maintain emotional distance. Harder to see our arrangement as purely transactional. 3 weeks after the gala, Nathaniel secured enough shares to force a board vote on his takeover bid. The meeting was scheduled for Friday morning, with results expected by afternoon. If successful, he would gain controlling interest in Pierce Industries and complete authority over Fiona's professional fate. The night before the vote, I found him in his office, reviewing documents for the presentation. He looked exhausted, the normally immaculate suit rumpled, his eyes shadowed with fatigue. "You should rest," I said from the doorway. "Tomorrow's important." He glanced up, seeming surprised to see me. "I'll rest when it's done." I entered the room, setting a cup of coffee on his desk. "Even avenging angels need sleep, Nathaniel." The small joke earned a tired smile. "Is that what I am? An angel?" "Hardly," I replied. "But neither are you the devil Fiona tried to paint you as." He leaned back in his chair, studying me. "After everything you've seen, you still have doubts?" "Not about Fiona's guilt," I said carefully. "About the extent of the punishment. You think it's excessive. I think destroying an entire company to punish one person affects hundreds of innocent lives." Nathaniel's expression hardened. "Pierce Industries will survive, just under different leadership. Jobs will be preserved, albeit with some restructuring. The only person being destroyed is Fiona. And that's enough for you? Her professional ruin?" "It's a start," he said coldly. "The criminal investigation will follow." "I'd suspected as much." "You have evidence of current crimes?" "Not just the historical ones with Natalie." "Fiona's pattern hasn't changed, just her targets. She's been embezzling from Pierce for years, hiding it in marketing budgets and vendor contracts. The forensic accountants will find everything once I have control." This was news to me. "You never mentioned this before." "You never asked." He shrugged. "You wanted to know if she deserved punishment." "She does, for more reasons than you know." Something in his tone made me uneasy. "What aren't you telling me, Nathaniel?" He was silent for a long moment, then opened a drawer and removed a USB drive different from the one Fiona had given me. "Watch this," he said, inserting it into his laptop. "Then tell me if my revenge is excessive." He turned the screen toward me. It showed security camera footage of Fiona's office at Pierce Industries, dated just 3 months ago. I recognized myself entering with a stack of reports, setting them on her desk. The angle didn't show Fiona, just my nervous body language as I apparently reported something she didn't like. Then came the slap, visible even from the awkward camera angle, my head jerking sideways from the force of it. I flinched at the memory. But what followed was worse. As I stood there, hand to my cheek, Fiona became visible in the frame. Her expression wasn't angry, wasn't out of control. She was smiling, enjoying my pain, my humiliation. Nathaniel paused the video. This happens regularly. Not just to you. He clicked through several other clips, Fiona berating different assistants, occasionally becoming physical, always with that same satisfied smile afterward. The pattern never changed, he said quietly. She still enjoys breaking people. Still takes pleasure in their pain. I felt sick, not just from seeing my own abuse documented, but from the realization that Fiona's behavior extended beyond me. That her apology in the restroom, her claims of therapy and improvement, had been more manipulation. She's never going to stop, Nathaniel continued. Not until someone stops her. That's what tomorrow is about. I nodded slowly, my doubts not erased, but certainly diminished. I understand. As I turned to leave, he caught my wrist gently. Abigail. I looked back, startled by the touch. Thank you, he said simply. For helping me do this. For believing me when you had every reason to doubt. The sincerity in his voice was unexpected, disarming. For a moment, neither of us spoke, his hand still warm around my wrist, his dark eyes searching mine. Then he released me, turning back to his work. Good night, Abigail. Good night, I replied, oddly disappointed as I left him to his preparations. The board meeting lasted 5 hours. I waited in Nathaniel's office at Griffin Enterprises, trying to focus on work, but constantly checking my phone for updates. When it finally buzzed with a message from him, my heart leapt. It's done. We won. Coming to you now. Victory. Pierce Industries was now effectively under Nathaniel's control. Fiona's downfall was assured. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt strangely hollow, as though reaching this goal had created a vacuum where purpose had been. Nathaniel arrived 30 minutes later, his expression one of grim satisfaction as he entered the office. Congratulations, I said, rising to greet him. You did it. We did it, he corrected. Your information was crucial. What happens now? I asked. To Pierce? To Fiona. Pierce becomes a subsidiary of Griffin Enterprises. Operations continue mostly unchanged, though with new leadership. His smile turned cold. As for Fiona, she was terminated effective immediately. Security escorted her from the building 10 minutes ago. I could picture it, Fiona's humiliation, as she was walked out past colleagues who had once feared her. It was justice, perhaps, but it gave me no pleasure. The forensic audit begins tomorrow, Nathaniel continued. I estimate criminal charges within a month. After that, he shrugged. Prison if there's any justice. He moved to the bar, pouring champagne into 2 flutes. We should celebrate. I accepted the glass, but didn't drink. Is it enough, Nathaniel? Will this bring you peace? His expression darkened. Peace isn't the objective. Justice is. And when justice is done, what then? He seemed startled by the question, as though he hadn't considered what came after revenge. Then, life continues. Whose life? Natalie is gone. Fiona will be ruined. But you'll still be here, defined by your hatred for them both. That's not. It is, I interrupted gently. You've spent years planning this. It's consumed you. What will be left when it's over? He stared at me, genuinely speechless for perhaps the first time since I'd met him. Then his phone rang, shattering the moment. Griffin, he answered sharply. His expression changed as he listened, hardening into something dangerous. When? Are you certain? Keep her there. I'm coming now. He hung up, already moving toward the door. Fiona's at the penthouse. Somehow got past security. My team has contained her, but I'm coming with you, I said, grabbing my coat. He didn't argue, just nodded once as we hurried to the elevator. The ride to his building was tense, silent. I couldn't imagine what Fiona thought she could accomplish by confronting Nathaniel now, when her defeat was complete. It seemed both desperate and foolish, or perhaps she had nothing left to lose. When we arrived, the head of security met us in the lobby. She's in the main living area, sir. unarmed, but highly agitated. Should we call the police? Not yet, Nathaniel replied. I want to hear what she has to say first. We took the private elevator to the penthouse, Nathaniel's expression growing colder with each passing floor. When the doors opened, he stepped out first, positioning himself slightly in front of me, protective, I realized with surprise. Fiona sat on the sofa in the living room, 2 security guards flanking her. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without her designer clothes and corporate authority. When she saw us, she stood. Finally, she said, her voice steady despite everything. I was beginning to think you were hiding from me, Nate. The nickname seemed to infuriate him. Only my friends call me that, he said coldly. You lost that privilege when you destroyed my sister. Fiona's laugh was bitter. Is that what you believe? That I destroyed her? You really have constructed your own reality, haven't you? Security footage, bank records, witness testimony, Nathaniel listed. Not construction. Evidence. Selective evidence, she countered. Carefully curated to support the narrative you needed to believe. I watched them facing off, these 2 people bound by hatred and history, and saw something I hadn't before, genuine pain in both their eyes. Not just Nathaniel's grief for his sister, but something in Fiona too, something raw and real beneath her composed exterior. Why are you here? Nathaniel demanded. To plead? Threaten? Deny? Nothing will change what's coming. I'm here because someone needs to tell you the truth before you destroy more lives with your vendetta, Fiona said. Including your wife's. She looked at me then, and I was surprised to see not hatred, but something like concern. He hasn't told you everything, has he, Abigail? About Natalie. About me. About himself. I know enough, I said, but uncertainty crept into my voice. Do you know they were lovers? Fiona asked bluntly. The question landed like a physical blow. I looked at Nathaniel, saw the shock and fury on his face. That's a lie, he said, but there was a hesitation, a flicker in his eyes. Is it? Fiona pressed. Tell her, Nate. Tell her how you were sleeping with your sister's business partner. How you promised to leave your wife for me. How you panicked when Natalie found out about us. My head spun with this new information. You were married before? Yes, he was, Fiona answered before Nathaniel could. To Elise Griffin, mother of his 2 children. The perfect society wife who still doesn't know her husband was having an affair with her sister-in-law's business partner. Enough. Nathaniel's voice lashed out. Security, remove her. Tell her the rest. Fiona shouted as the guards moved toward her. Tell her how Natalie threatened to expose us if you didn't end things. How you chose your marriage over me. How she killed herself not over business fraud, but because she couldn't bear to destroy her brother's family, even though you betrayed her trust. The guards grabbed Fiona's arms, but Nathaniel suddenly raised his hand. Wait. His face had gone deathly pale, his composure cracking for the first time since I'd met him. Is that true? I asked quietly. Were you and Fiona? Yes, he admitted, the words seeming torn from him. We were involved. Briefly. It was a mistake. A mistake, Fiona repeated bitterly. 3 years, and it was a mistake. Tell her what really happened to the money, Nate. Tell her who was really embezzling from Griffin and Blackwell. Nathaniel's expression froze. Don't. You, Fiona continued relentlessly. You were taking money from your sister's company to fund your side ventures. Projects Elise knew nothing about. Projects that would have destroyed your marriage if she'd discovered them. That's not true, Nathaniel said, but his denial lacked conviction. Natalie found out, Fiona pressed. She confronted you, threatened to tell Elise everything, the affair, the embezzlement, all of it. And then she died. Convenient timing, wasn't it? The accusation hung in the air, monstrous and unspoken. I stared at Nathaniel, trying to read the truth in his expression. You think I killed my sister? He asked, his voice dangerously quiet. I think you let her believe she was responsible for crimes she didn't commit, Fiona replied. I think you manipulated her already fragile mental state. I think you convinced her that taking her own life was the only honorable choice. That's what you did. Nathaniel shouted, control finally shattering. You gaslight her, manipulated her, pushed her to suicide. I loved her, Fiona said simply. She was my best friend. I would never have hurt her. Then why didn't you fight the accusations? I asked, finding my voice at last. Why let everyone believe you were responsible? Fiona's gaze shifted to me, something like respect in her eyes. Because by the time I understood what was happening, Natalie was gone. The narrative was established. And I had my own guilt to bear. What guilt? I pressed. I knew she was struggling. I saw the signs, but didn't act quickly enough. And yes, I was sleeping with her brother, a betrayal of our friendship I can never undo. Her voice broke slightly. I deserved punishment for that, if nothing else. The room fell silent. Nathaniel stood frozen, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. Fiona watched him, no longer defiant, but simply tired, as though this confrontation had drained the last of her energy. And I stood between them, trying to determine which version of truth to believe, or if perhaps both contained elements of reality distorted by grief, guilt, and time. Show her the letter, Nate, Fiona said finally. The real one, not the confession you told her about. There is no other letter, Nathaniel insisted. There is, Fiona countered. Natalie sent it to me the night she died. I've kept it all these years, waiting for the right moment. That moment is now. She reached slowly into her jacket, withdrawing an envelope worn with age and handling. The guards tensed, but she merely held it out to me. Read it, she urged. Then decide who deserves your loyalty. I took the envelope, looking to Nathaniel. His expression was unreadable, but he made no move to stop me. With trembling fingers, I opened it and unfolded the letter inside. The handwriting was shaky but legible, the paper stained with what might have been tears. Dear Fiona, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't blame yourself. This choice is mine alone, the only one I have left. Nate knows what I discovered about the missing funds. He knows I threatened to tell Elise everything. He's made it clear what will happen if I do. He'll destroy you, the company, everything we've built. He'll claim you manipulated me, stole from me, pushed me toward breakdown. I can't let that happen. I won't let him use my illness to create a narrative that destroys your life. So I'm taking the only path left that protects everyone I love you, the company, even Nate's children who deserve a father, however flawed. I've written the confession he wanted. The one that takes responsibility for everything. He'll use it to protect himself and in doing so, will create a story where you're the villain. Fight it if you can, but know it might be safer to accept the role he's crafted for you. Nate is more dangerous than either of us understood. I'm sorry for everything, for not seeing the truth sooner, for involving you with my brother, for leaving you to face this alone. My only comfort is knowing that by doing this, I spare you from worse consequences. Please forgive me, and someday, if it's safe, tell the truth. With love always, Natalie. I looked up from the letter, my hands shaking. Nathaniel's face had gone completely white, his eyes fixed on the paper in my hands. That's a forgery, he said, but there was no conviction in his voice. She's manipulating you, just like she manipulated Natalie. Is she? I asked quietly. Or have you been manipulating me all along? The questions seemed to break something in him. He sank into a chair, his composure finally, completely shattering. You don't understand, he said, his voice barely audible. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. She wasn't supposed to, he broke off, unable to continue. What happened, Nathaniel? I pressed, moving closer to him. What really happened with Natalie? He looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw not the controlled, calculating businessman, but a broken man consumed by guilt. I never meant for her to die, he whispered. I just wanted her to sign the confession. To take responsibility for the money I'd taken. To protect my family, my reputation. So you did steal from the company, I said, the final piece falling into place. He nodded once, a sharp, pained movement. High-risk investments. Some failed spectacularly. I used Griffin and Blackwell to cover the losses, thinking I'd pay it back before anyone noticed. But Natalie found out, Fiona said, still standing across the room. Yes. Nathaniel's voice was hollow. She was smarter than I gave her credit for. Followed the money trail straight to me. Threatened to tell Elise everything, the embezzlement, the affair with Fiona, all of it. So you gaslight her, I said, understanding at last. Made her doubt her own mind, her own memory. Used her illness against her. I just needed time, he said desperately. Time to fix things, to cover my tracks. I never thought she would, he broke off again, his voice cracking. The confession was just insurance. I never thought she'd actually harm herself. The truth hung in the air between us, ugly and undeniable. Nathaniel Griffin, who had convinced me he was avenging his wronged sister, had been the architect of her destruction. His revenge against Fiona had been a smokescreen, a way to silence the one person who knew the truth. And I had helped him. What now? I asked, looking between them. Now, Fiona said quietly, the truth comes out. Publicly. You'll destroy yourself too, Nathaniel warned. Your affair with me, your failure to save Natalie, people will still blame you. They might, she acknowledged. But at least I'll have told the truth. Finally. I looked around the penthouse that had been my prison and sanctuary for the past month. At the man who had offered revenge and delivered only more manipulation. At the woman I had helped destroy based on carefully crafted lies. And I made my decision. The truth, I said firmly. All of it. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more revenge. I removed the diamond ring from my finger and placed it on the table between us, rejecting not just the marriage, but everything it represented. The deception. The control. The twisted justifications for vengeance. You'll still get what you wanted, Nathaniel, I said quietly. Pierce Industries. Power. Success. But you'll have to live with the truth too, about Natalie, about yourself. That's your real punishment. 6 months later, I sat in a quiet cafe, reviewing the final draft of my manuscript. Power Games, my life inside a billionaire's revenge plot, had already generated significant interest from publishers, the advance substantial enough to support me while I figured out my next steps. The full story had emerged gradually. Nathaniel's carefully constructed narrative had unraveled once Fiona went public with Natalie's letter and her own testimony. Former employees of Griffin and Blackwell came forward with additional evidence. Financial records were re-examined. The truth, complex, messy, implicating everyone in different ways, had finally emerged. Nathaniel had retained control of Pierce Industries, but his reputation was in tatters. His wife had filed for divorce after learning about his affair with Fiona and his role in his sister's suicide. His carefully constructed image as a grieving, avenging brother had been replaced by a more complicated reality, a man capable of both genuine grief and monstrous manipulation. Fiona had resigned from corporate life entirely, using her settlement from Pierce Industries to establish a foundation focused on workplace bullying and mental health advocacy. She had publicly acknowledged her own abusive behavior toward employees, including me, and was working with therapists to address her issues with control and anger. As for me, I had used my portion of the divorce settlement, significantly less than the promised $5 million, but still substantial, to create a new life. I'd moved to a different city, started therapy to process the psychological impact of both Fiona's abuse and Nathaniel's manipulation, and begun writing my story as a form of reclaiming my narrative. Miss Turner. I looked up to see a young woman standing beside my table, clutching a coffee cup nervously. Yes, I replied, closing my laptop. I'm sorry to interrupt, she said, but I just wanted to say thank you. Your interview on the Morgan Hayes show, it helped me recognize what was happening in my own workplace. I quit my job the next day. I smiled, genuinely touched. I'm glad it helped. And proud of you for making that choice. After she left, I sat for a moment, reflecting on how much had changed. The story had captured public attention not just because of Nathaniel's wealth or Natalie's tragic death, but because it resonated with so many people's experiences of workplace abuse and psychological manipulation. My phone buzzed with a text message from Fiona. The Foundation's first conference on workplace bullying is next month. Would you consider being a keynote speaker? Your perspective would be valuable. I considered the request. My relationship with Fiona remained complex. I had forgiven her abuse, understanding better now the cycles of trauma that had shaped her behavior, but forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or excusing what had happened. Yet her foundation was doing important work, helping people recognize and escape situations like the one I had endured. My story might make a difference. I'll think about it, I replied. Send me the details. As I gathered my things to leave, my gaze caught on a newspaper someone had left on a nearby table. Nathaniel's face stared back from the business section, a small article about Griffin Enterprises' latest acquisition. I felt nothing looking at him now, not anger, not attraction, not even particularly strong resentment. He was simply a chapter in my story, not the author of it. Never again would I allow someone else to write my narrative or determine my worth. Outside, the spring air was crisp and full of possibility. I had survived Fiona's abuse and Nathaniel's manipulation. I had emerged stronger, wiser, and most importantly, free. The billionaire had put a ring on my finger, but I had taken it off. The boss had slapped me, but I had walked away. The revenge plot had consumed them both, but I had escaped its toxic pull. My phone buzzed again with a reminder about my afternoon meeting with a literary agent. My future, uncertain but full of potential, awaited. Whatever came next would be my choice, my path, my story to write. And that was the greatest revenge of all. If you've enjoyed today's story, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more powerful tales of revenge and redemption. Remember, the most important freedom isn't wealth or status, it's the power to write your own story. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. I read every single one. Until next time, this is Pure Revenge Stories, reminding you that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting free.